You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It's takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
All right, folks, it is Tuesday evening. I really, really wish I could say it was Thursday, but then I'd be lying. This is the Gentleman Nick Show. We're live right now on KLRNradio.com, where liberty and reason still reign. I am one half of the crew, Mr. Rick Robinson. She's the other half, Miss Jen Homestead. I'd ask how you are, but we've been talking for a few minutes, but good evening anyway.
Good evening. Happy Tuesday. Is it only Tuesday?
I know, right? I don't know if it's because, Easter's coming up, but it seems like everything's like moving at a really, really fast pace right now. Because I'm like prepping for family to come over, and then I'm supposed to be on vacation from the day job most of next week. Actually, all of next week. And then it's just like, I just feel like everything's moving at warp speed. And then for those of you that may have missed the announcement, America Off the Rails is going back to its old time slot. Not really as my own choice, but because I kind of felt like I didn't really have any other options. As much as I liked the earlier time slot, I-35 traffic, construction, and people that can't drive in the rain and can't keep from having accidents are making it harder and harder for me to get here on time to be able to do the show at the time that I would prefer. So effective tonight, we're moving back to 11 p.m. Eastern. New schedule will, of course, be back to Monday through Thursday, 11 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah, sorry for the short notice. I'd planned on maybe making that announcement in the next couple of weeks, but everything was completely insane today, and it was like 5:55 by the time I got home. And I'm like, there is no way I'm going on the air in 5 minutes. I haven't even had a chance to look at a single news story today because we were so slammed at work. I'm still playing catch up because I'm seeing things from the United Nations, and, there's the whole Stormy Daniels mini corn dogs and tacos fiasco, and I'm like, ew. And yeah, a bunch of other things going on in the news. So yeah, what's going on with you?
I mean, not much. I've kind of been in toddler land. So because I had worked so much, had, the flu before that and everything, I've been really like the last few days, since I'm back with my son pretty much full time, I've been really trying not to say no to him about very many things. So he wants to go to the park. Yes. He wants to walk the dog. Yes. He wants to play outside. Yes. So we have just been, and then it started raining later today. So that's kind of over with for a few days, but I have just actually been, so much enjoying it outside, but been enjoying my son and just doing a lot of things like that. So I also haven't been like glued to social media like I can be sometimes, and I haven't been watching the news as much or anything like that. So, but obviously I can't stay completely disconnected, but I do still get some of it. But it has been kind of nice that I went from like being disconnected because of work to being disconnected because of him, and I have to tell you, it's kind of been hard to get back into the daily grind of like keeping up with everything. And it's like kind of a good thing in that it's kind of freeing because I'm not just constantly like bogged down with all of the political issues of the day and the cultural issues of the day. But at the same time, I also feel like, what is going on? And I start to feel anxious because I don't know what's going on.
I made a conscious choice over the weekend to basically just unplug. For the most part, I mean, I was on Twitter maybe 2 or 3 times over the weekend. I have to say, I kind of enjoy being away from the madness. This latest round with the whole budget thing just has me really, really ticked off because I'm sitting here and I've always been fiscally conservative. I've never hidden that fact. And that's one of the reasons why I typically voted Republican, was because they were the ones that always said, yeah, vote for us, we'll cut things. And now we voted for them and they voted to spend all the things instead of cut all the things. And
it's really exhausting. And I think that and all of this, I can't take any more of the gun control coverage and of these same little activist faces and their fake tears and their, propaganda and the way that they're being used and manipulated. I can't take it. It's really starting to make my stomach turn. I mean, the whole this march thing and then the way that they were up there speaking and then blowing off school and bragging about blowing off school to go on all these talk shows and go to all these rallies and everything. I know that some of them may really believe what they're doing. I think most of them are being used by adults in their lives, whether it be parents, producers, whoever, or just human beings caught up in the moment too. But it has just gotten to a point that it is just intolerable for me. And that's so much of Twitter right now. And it's just so hard to be, I just can't stomach any more of it. I don't even have a comment to make anymore. It's just so outrageous. And the people that are cheering this on and the kind of help that these young people should be getting if they truly are traumatized by this event is not media attention and Instagram followers. It's counseling. And that's not what's happening here.
So is it bad that I had this idea of kind of doing this as kind of a reverse parade for the march? You know how normally like at parades or something, the people in the parade are like throwing candy and, plastic necklaces, whatever's cool. I kind of thought, maybe the people that were watching the march, those of us that are kind of on the opposite side of the argument, should line up around them and toss Tide Pods.
Well, I just, this whole thing is just spun out of control. And when we talk about the lists of things that I know that it's tragic and it's horrific and it was such an awful situation. And anytime there's some sort of event like this, it's terrible, especially when it's something that has been purposely done by a human to other human beings. But it's just not. It just doesn't even register on the radar of things that endanger our children. It just doesn't. It's not even in the top 50 of things that kill our kids. So it's just really hard to look at all of this and see the hysteria. And now they're blatantly admitting that, a lot of them are blatantly admitting that they want to take away that they want to get rid of the Second Amendment and they want guns to be taken away. In the same breath, they think that Trump is Hitler and he's going to send gays to a prison camp. So I'm not really sure why little Emma Gonzalez thinks that this is a great idea while Trump is president, but I'm getting that logic is not her strong suit. And it's just, it's just a bunch of media whoring. And it's really disgusting to me. At first it was obnoxious and it was like, I was, obviously because of the tragedy and everything, it was expected, but it has gone on and on and on. And now it's just, I can't even deal with it anymore because this is something that they're going to just continue to throw, they're going to continue to throw grease on the fire and logic be damned, reason be damned, rational debate and conversation be damned. And it's just like that's the main thing dominating everything right now. Every time you look at anything online, on the TV, they'll blip about some of the other stuff going on in this country and they'll blip about some of the other policies, but it's just constant gun control. And I'm just afraid that this time it's really not going to settle down until some drastic measures are taken, which means that America is going to be weakened.
Well, I mean, Marco Rubio is on board,
Well, he is, but not like a liberal is. He has certain things about it. And, honestly, I know a lot of Republicans that would give in quite a bit about some stuff, but not this whole, not the way that it's being demanded and portrayed right now, where you can't even disagree. See, they still think he's a monster. You can't even say, okay, I'll give you this reasonable gun control, this common sense gun control, and come up with 4 or 5 things that you would agree to as a gun owner. You can't even give them those things that they've already asked for and say, see, I'm meeting you halfway. No, they want it all the way how they want it now, and they are demanding it. And if you believe anything differently, or if you don't support it fully, then it means that you want children to die. And it means that you are irrational. It means that you are crazy, and that you are ignorant, and that you are a hillbilly, and that you are someone who, shouldn't own a gun in the first place if this is the kind of thing that you believe. So they just shut down all debate on it, because basically what they're saying, like liberals tend to do on almost every single subject, is there is no room for disagreement. We are right. You are wrong. And until you step up to our level of what we think the solution should be, then we are going to make sure you are ostracized and your beliefs are demeaned and you are villainized by mainstream media. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, they're doing it because it's working. I mean, that's part of the problem.
Because it's work. It is, but partly because they've done this for so long, right? They've done it on every subject imaginable for the better part of 40 years. It's just that the media platforms now are so much easier taken over, that you see everything 24/7 now. So it's so much more effective than it was even 15 years ago.
Yeah. Part of it, again, is I knew that was going to happen. I was starting to get a weird noise on my headset, and I didn't catch it in time. Hang on a second. Voice meter was getting cranky. I had too many tabs open again. Okay, so anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, the idea that the narrative is working this time. Honestly, one of the reasons the narrative is working this time is because we have a soft spot in this country for kids. We really do. I mean, that's usually when people start really paying attention to something, is when it starts impacting kids. And unfortunately, we have a lot of kids who have grown up in a completely nanny state school system that basically has taught them the government knows better what they need than they do. And so these kids, now that they've seen this happen, they're using the talking points that they've been fed, because, nobody teaches any common sense thinking skills anymore. It's all about, hey, can you pass this test? What's the answer to this? So nobody really has the ability to think on their own anymore, or actually form cogent opinions. They regurgitate things that they've seen on the internet, or that they find in Google, or that their teacher feeds them in an out-of-date textbook from 1999. And so we have this group of kids that are now motivated and mobilized, that have gotten media attention. They've got the entire media machine behind them. They've got funding of the Democrats. I mean, this whole thing is just a Democrat wet dream, because they're looking at the ability to finally be able to start chipping away at gun rights, which is what they've wanted all along. Because they know that if it comes right down to it, all of these people that want socialism and everything else, as long as we're an armed populace, it's never going to happen. Because there will be somebody that will rise up and try to fight against it. If they can disarm us, that's going to be the very first step. And I know everybody likes to look at me like I'm crazy when I say that, but look at history if you think I'm insane. Because history says I'm not. Just saying.
No.
My psychiatrist says otherwise, but history says I'm not.
No, that's what everything starts. Every kind of takeover of authoritative, regime gaining power. Every single one of those that has happened in modern history has started with disarmament in one way or another. And so, they can point to these countries where they think it's working great, all they want to, but that doesn't mean that those other points in history, those other examples, did not have peaceful periods and periods of time where it was all fine also before that person got in and was able to take advantage of it. I mean, everybody did not. I mean, nobody in this world saw Hitler going the way he was. I mean, no world leaders were that worried about him until it was almost too late, until it was really obvious that there was something really wrong here. And even still, they didn't want to get involved.
I mean, heck, Hitler was celebrated. Hitler was on the cover of Time magazine. That's how much nobody worried about him. He was like Time's Man of the Year and was like 30.
Well, right.
Something.
No, and he had created this little German utopia, so they thought. There had been so many things that it seemed to be well for the Germans, right? And so that's just one example, and it's a big one because it has such an impact on our emotional psyche. But yeah, going back to the kids thing though, like you're right. I had said this was a couple weeks ago on Twitter. I said we are entirely too emotional as a country. We are foolishly emotional to the point of where we don't handle things like this in a rational manner, in an adult manner, because we allow our emotions to rule us and to rule our politics. And that is kind of what conservatives fight against, is trying to balance that the reason and the emotion with freedom and liberty. And when you let those feelings take over, of fear, of sorrow, of that protectiveness and all of these things, then you find yourself in a position where you are agreeing to a whole slew of laws and a whole lot of policies that could one day really be dangerous in the hands of the wrong person.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, if you go back and you look at, say, the history of the 60s, because everybody makes fun of hippies, right? They smoked banana peels, they didn't take baths, but they were doing things as protests to try to increase awareness for actual freedoms. I think this is the first American generation that I've ever seen that's actually marching for oppression, and they just don't even realize they're doing it. I mean, it's one thing to joke about them saying, this is the first generation that's actually marched to have freedoms taken away, but we need to shorten the aspect of that a little bit, because people don't even really understand what freedom is anymore, because we take it for granted. So, but what they're literally doing is they're marching to be oppressed, because they want everybody's gun rights taken away. They want all weapons gone, so that at that point, Jess just pointed out, we don't need to get to a point where only the elites and the government have weapons, because then what's left for the rest of us? And that's the point that I've been trying to get across to everybody, because everybody talks about, how all of these, automatic weapons are illegal and they've been banned. No, they're not. They're not illegal. They're very heavily regulated, and it costs you a fortune to be able to get one, but you can get one. So if we start talking about putting the same type of regulations on every other gun that already exists on automatic weapons, that means only rich people are going to have guns. What happens when only rich people have guns?
Wait, so all of the evil rich men that hoard their wealth and are completely elitist, those will be the ones that can rule the poor class?
Well, they're already the ones that can pay the thousands of dollars for a federal firearms license and actually purchase M16s. Because they're not outlawed, no matter what anybody tells you. They haven't been banned. They're just so heavily restricted that it costs you a fortune to be able to get them. So if we start putting the same regulations that everybody's clamoring for, because, the regulations on the M16, those are great because nobody gets killed with an M16 anymore. But this crazy AR-15 that looks just like an M16, and according to somebody, and I heard them say this the other day, I'm someone who used to be a member of the Marine Corps, and I'm telling you that an AR-15 is no different than an M16. No way in hell are you a Marine. I have never heard a Marine that didn't get their ass kicked afterwards say the word Marine Corps. Shut up and sit down.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Well, I was going to say, though, that, essentially they would be saying, that if we impose those same restrictions, that they would be fine with the richer classes being able to actually like be weaponized and the poorer classes not be armed. And that's something that makes America unique right now, is that guns are not terribly inexpensive, but they're not terribly expensive either. And there are a lot of people that get them handed down from fathers and grandfathers and uncles and whatever else. And so there are a lot of people that don't have a lot of wealth that have a good amount of guns for their protection and for hunting.
Yeah, but I mean,
and you would disallow that. You know what I mean? So in future generations, like, you would disallow like poor people, unless it was handed down, they would not be able to purchase on their own. And I know plenty of people that live paycheck to paycheck that save up enough to buy their own firearm. And if you put those restrictions on them, that would not be able to happen for them. So then you're essentially having the lower classes that are legitimately unarmed, and you'd have the upper classes, those big, mean, evil ones, that would be completely weaponized. And so then if we were to have some sort of revolution in this country, what do you think would happen?
We'd probably all get our asses handed to us.
I mean, the ruling class would rule based simply on the fact that they could afford the firearms in such a heavily regulated climate.
I mean, that's honestly,
I don't know.
I mean, part of that's honestly why they don't want us to have them in the first place, because they can afford armed bodyguards, so they don't need to have guns.
Well, I was going to say one other thing about like this generation marching for it. The problem is, though, is that it spans generations. Like, there are people I know in their 60s and 70s that wholeheartedly believe the same things that these 14 to 18-year-olds do, or the 25-year-olds do. I know people that are in their 40s, that are in their 20s, that are in their 30s. So we've just created a climate, and there's a culture right now that is very loud. And I don't think that it's a majority, but it's a very loud voice right now, partially because of the media lending them so much credence. And so it's people that are 50, 60 years apart that are arm in arm at the Women's March, and that are arm in arm at the gun control marches, and that are arm in arm at the anti-Trump rallies, and that are arm in arm for Fight for 15, that are arm in arm for wage, work equality, and blah, 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 blah. And so, all the little socialists have come out of the woodwork, and they're definitely preying on the younger ones and like propping them up, because there are plenty of them after being completely, just from the institutionalized socialism from education for so long that's been drilled into them, and the way they've been indoctrinated. So there's like an easy younger class to just capitalize on and just use, but it's gone across so many different people. But like I said, I think it seems more prevalent than it is, because it's because of all of the attention from the media and the Bernie Sanders kind of movement allowing for them to all come out of the woodwork.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that, folks like the Washington Post decided to post outlandish headlines. So they put out a news article over the weekend. I think it was either over the weekend or it was yesterday. I don't remember for sure exactly when it posted. Looks like it was maybe March 24th. So what was that? Saturday, I think. 187,000 students have been impacted or exposed to gun violence at school since Columbine in 1999. Problem is, the facts don't add up to that. So they use
all those BS statistics from every town and all that crap, where it includes people that in completely unrelated school incidences were shot near schools, where a gun was accidentally fired in a parking lot across the street from the school, where someone was on the basketball courts that are beside the school and someone handled a firearm. Like, they use all these ridiculous, statistics for all kinds of stories like this that come out.
So the funny thing is, if you take out all those extemporaneous ones, the solo student committing suicide in the bathroom, people shot within so many feet of a school, etc., and you actually define a mass shooting in a school as a massacre with more than 4 deaths, not including the gunman. If you take out all those other little crazy variables that give him all those crazy numbers, it's only happened 8 times. If you count it as a group shooting where more than 4 people have died, not counting the shooter. 8 times.
Interesting. Well, like I said before, I've given this out before. I mean, not even one child over the last, I think it's 15 years, but certainly the last 10, not even one child per month dies from a school shooting in that span of years, in the span of a decade, whereas not even one child per month. So not even 12 a year, not even one per month, not even 12 a year die in a school shooting in the last decade, but 6,000 die a month in 1 year alone. I mean, we can't, you can't like from something else. I mean, from car accidents and from all these other factors. So the fact that we are just becoming so insanely emotional on this one topic, and I get it, it's because it is so horrific. That scene, we can all play it in our head. We've all watched enough movies to where we can envision how that went down and the terror and the fear and all of that kind of thing. But I have a friend that's from Saudi Arabia that reminded me that this would not even be reported. This wouldn't even make news. Like, it would not even make the news in the Middle East because it's such a minimal attack.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's all about perspective. I mean, because they're used to like actual real attacks, and we have one guy go nuts with a gun, and all of a sudden, all the guns have to go away. And the funny thing is, not that that's a good thing or anything. I mean, obviously, like, it's good that we are so traumatized by something like this because it happens so seldom in our country. But still, we overreact to the incident to such an extreme. And I mean, we're talking about something that, like I said, doesn't even register in the top half of things that kill, or it doesn't register in the top 50 of things that kill teenagers. So it's just a real overreaction to call for federal policy or possibly a constitutional change because of it, when we don't want to talk about all of the other gun violence and who's perpetuating it and why. I mean, we want to focus on the school shootings, and they don't want to look at the urban areas where the guns are largely illegally in the hands of streetwalkers and gang members, and that most of the bloodshed from gun violence in this country comes at their hands and is amongst those groups. So they don't want to have serious conversations about that. They don't want to have serious conversations about all sorts of other issues that truly endanger people in this country, but they want to focus on something like this and take us to the absolute farthest edge, so far as let's get rid of the Second Amendment, and it's just completely irrational. So the New York Times, in an opinion piece, suggested that we revise the Second Amendment. They stated as follows: a revised Second Amendment could read, "The right to bear arms for hunting, sport, and recreation being a cherished and time-honored tradition, the exercise of this right by responsible persons for those purposes shall not be infringed." Mm-hmm. Whoever wrote this doesn't know what the Second Amendment was actually for. Just saying.
Well, not only that, but then you have to define, like, that's just as vague as what they think the Second Amendment is now. Because then you have to define what is responsible. You have to define what is, and this is already something we're all questioning, like what is fit, what is healthy, what is responsible, what is the right age, what is capable, all of these things. And the fact of the matter is that the Founding Fathers, some of them were lunatics, by the way. Like absolute lunatics. And they were not considering those factors because that didn't matter to them. What mattered to them was that you were able to fight for yourself, your family, if need be, your country or your community, if it was against a country, which is what they did. And that's what they were thinking about. And they weren't so concerned with who should handle what, because in their day and age, it didn't matter if you were a psycho. You still had an axe to chop your wood. you still had knives to cut what you needed to cut. Like, you didn't take those things away from people because they were unstable. Unfortunately, like, that just was not a reality. So it wasn't even close to anything they envisioned, because these are all things of survival. And they saw guns as part of survival. All arms were part of survival, not just against a tyrannical government, but against, other threats, including environmental ones. So it wasn't a question of what is or what isn't this or that, which we're trying to define now, and which most people are on board with a few kind of restrictions on, or some sort of guidelines on. But, again, that's dangerous territory when we talk about like a registry, or then you talk about who can and can't, who is mentally unstable. Well, what is mentally unstable? What mental health do you report? Is it that you ever saw a therapist? Is it that you were ever on anti-anxiety meds? Is it that you were ever on antidepressants? So if someone who was a woman who had postpartum depression, she took meds, now all of a sudden she's flagged for 5 years and can't buy or own a firearm. I mean, where do we stop with it? And that's the problem, is that it's such a slippery slope, and no one really knows how to proceed without, setting a whole lot of landmines.
And that's part of the problem, because in every variation of these common sense reforms that I've seen, like somebody, even from the Libertarian Party, they had this bright idea, and I even heard Hillary say it, and I heard Trump say it: no fly, no buy, meaning if you were on the no-fly list, you couldn't buy a gun. That's great, except there's no due process to get off the no-fly list, which means once you're on there, they're basically infringing on your constitutional rights, and there's no way for you to fight it because you can't get off. Also, one of the other things that I heard when they were talking about, as far as, mental illness, one of the things that they were saying should preclude anybody from being able to legally own a firearm is post-traumatic stress disorder. I honestly don't know a single law enforcement officer that I know that's actively serving today that doesn't have some form of PTSD. So you're talking about making our cops the British Bobbies. No, thank you.
Well, right. No, and I mean, and then there are also so many things that are not clinical that are treatable. So things that, or very easily manageable. And so someone who has, then what do? Do you say, okay, you're bipolar, but you've demonstrated that for 10 years you have been taking these meds and you've been chemically balanced and have had no episodes, no issues, blah, 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 blah. So now, since it's been a decade, I guess you can have a firearm. I mean, what do you do with all of that? Because not everyone, like we've said before, not everyone who is mentally ill is a psycho killer or snaps. In fact, so few of them do. Do we think that most people that kill probably have some sort of mental issue? Yes. Does it mean that they were all mentally ill, though? No. And it does not mean that the mental illness is what did it to them on its own. I mean, there are so many cases where it took so many factors piling up together to create that perfect storm that made this person go nuts. And there are just millions of people walking around this country perfect, very well are managing their mental health. And it's a real slap in the face to them to say that you are beyond control. It doesn't matter, and so we're going to strip you of this natural given right, and one that is guaranteed by our Constitution, because you have to take medication for something that you couldn't help in the first place. I mean, it's just that more people with any sort of mental health issues than not take care of them, or even when they go off their meds, the percentage that end up going psycho and killing someone is so freaking small. It's about equal to the school shootings thing. I mean, it's not the thing to overreact to a point where you strip all of them of their rights. And at what point do we stop with that? Where do we stop saying that something is treating something or isn't? And which one is severe enough to warrant the confiscation, and which one is not severe enough to, is ADHD severe enough? Is dyslexia severe enough? Is mild autism severe enough? Is Down syndrome severe? I mean, where do we stop?
I don't know. I mean, speaking of Down syndrome, we have a whole group of people now in other countries that think that needs to be basically eradicated by this test that's only about 50 to 65% effective and just aborting anybody that tests with it.
Yeah, I didn't even ask for the screening because I didn't need to know. And I know a lot of people that feel that way. And I know that there are places where it's not just that they're doing these tests, they're forcing the tests. And then they are pressuring these people into abortion. It is the medical recommendation, and they are being strong-armed into it. They've almost eradicated it in a couple places because of this. And you can't tell me that's because every single one of those people is going, yeah, definitely, I want to abort that kid. You cannot tell me that they are not being strong-armed. So it's just a really sad thing. And when I was asked, I just said nope, because it doesn't matter. So I didn't even need to know in the first place.
Yeah, but see, that's the joy of living in what is still, for the moment, a free society. You have the ability to say, no, I don't want that test. One of the things that has been driving me crazy about everything that I've seen going on in even places like Great Britain, where now we have multiple cases where parents have been told that for the good of the state, we're unplugging your child because they're suffering, and it doesn't matter what you want because it's costing us too much money. This is, the thing about it is, if you listen to people that have gone through this, and you look at the timelines, there have been people for about the last 15 years, 20 years, that have been saying that as far as the bell curve goes, the United States is about 10 years behind Great Britain. And they have been spot on every step of the way. What's going on right now in this country was going on in Great Britain not too long ago. There was a great upheaval about what they were going to do about guns. We're there now because it's been so ingrained in this younger generation that nobody needs guns. Everybody loves each other. It's all kumbaya, blah, blah, blah. Unless, of course, a cop accidentally shoots somebody or does something stupid. Then, of course, the same people that are saying only cops should have guns say kill all the cops. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah. It's the same thing as the Trump thing. Like, you think he's evil and he's going to be an authoritarian and be a dictator, yet you're saying, let's get rid of guns. Or also, like you just said, all law enforcement are evil and they're all white supremacists, or even if they're black, they are ingrained to be against black people in when they're out on patrol, and so they are the problem and they shouldn't be trusted and they're all pigs. But also, by the way, in the gun argument, only law enforcement need guns. It makes no sense. I mean, if they there's just no common sense there when it comes to these, strains of thought that they have that are completely inconsistent.
They have trains of thought? I'm not so sure. All right, So we are really, really long. We're going to take a quick break, pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to get a little 2 cents in, probably over the Stormy Daniels thing only, because I have something I got to say about that. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org. Alright, folks, welcome back. This is JandR and Rick. We are well past the bottom of the hour. Just about enough time to touch on one other subject, and I probably should have really thought of another word other than touched. But I have to say this because something really annoyed me the other night. And I get it. She was jazzed about the interview. She was excited. But somebody was tweeting to Stormy Daniels asking her what snacks she recommended for the upcoming interview that she did on 60 Minutes, which I did not watch, by the way. So we're not really going to be...
I didn't either.
I mean, I've seen bits and pieces on other shows that actually look more like a Springer interview than anything important. But I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't really want to comment too much about that. But one of the things that annoyed me was hearing a porn star talk about, well, I think a good snack would have been maybe mini corn dogs and popcorn, or mini corn dogs and tacos. But the stack of choice is probably going to be popcorn. So I knew what she meant when she said mini corn dogs, and I get it, folks. I've seen the hands. But come on, this is a porn star we're talking about. To the Grand Canyon, even a 747 is going to seem small. I'm just saying.
That's funny.
I mean, seriously, that was just... I mean, look, I don't even... Like I said, I don't necessarily like Trump. I call positive things when I see them. I call negative things when I see them. But just... That was just... Ugh. I mean, first of all, you're the one... You chose to have sex with the man. We're talking about a consensual encounter, and you're slamming him on Twitter because of the size of his penis. You're the one that let him go there. Who's proud?
Well, yeah. I mean, this just seems like I think this legitimately happened. I think that she is telling the truth. Let's just get that out there, at least most of the truth. I think that something happened with them. I think they had sex. But here's what I also think. I also think that there is something else that has put her up to coming out with this now. And whether that's her own inner thing to get some extra fame or some money or whatever it is to come out right now, or whether it's some more nefarious like political payoffs to try to derail him right now. It does seem kind of odd that like she hasn't said anything all this time and now she wants to say something. But I also saw some people getting into discussion of they keep calling it an affair, and this seems more from everything I've read, this is more of a like one-nighter or maybe a two-nighter. And I saw some people discussing whether that's an affair or not. And I saw a lot of women saying it is. And I went, what? Because, by the way, it doesn't really matter to me what the real definition is, because cheating is cheating is cheating, and it's gross and it's adultery and screw all that. I mean, it's disgusting. And so it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. But from people I know that have been through it, like affairs are very different, and it involves an actual relationship, even if that relationship is mostly sexual, but oftentimes it becomes emotional or some sort of other attachment as well. And that means something totally different than someone getting their rocks off and like hooking up with a hot chick one night. But either way, it's all cheating and it's all gross. And I just can't even believe, like, the Republican Party, especially those that voted for Trump, like, you just don't get to use, like, crap about Clinton anymore. You don't get to be like, oh, philandering JFK. Well, the Democrats are always the ones that can't keep it in it. You don't get to do that anymore because you elected someone that you knew full well was an adulterer. And you knew that there would be more stories like this coming out. So I'm really sick of hearing people trying to, like, spin it and be like, wah, they're just piling on him, and these women are just blah, 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 blah. No, I mean, like, you knew this. These were going to come out. There's probably a lot more. I'm sure he's paid off a ton of people. And then more people are going to try to pay them to speak up. So this is no surprise, and thanks for putting us in the position where we now can't say jack crap about it the way that we could when we had people like the Bushes and Reagan in office, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that makes it different for me is, first of all, this was a consensual thing. It happened well before he was ever president, and, Clinton actually apparently...
Well, no, but he was doing that before he was president. No, but he was doing that before he was president, too, and everybody knew it. And the Democrats put him in office.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's no better. They're the same thing. I mean, unless both of them, unless one of them has actually assaulted someone against their will and without consent, which makes them worse than the other, they're both dogs. I mean, they're both just dogs, and they're cheaters. So we knew that going in. The Democrats knew that going in with Clinton. So to try to be above some sort of, or hold some virtue here, or be able to have some sort of finger wagging over someone else is just silly at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much over the finger wagging myself. Because like I said, I didn't vote for Trump to begin with. I am not even entirely certain I'm going to vote for him in 2018. Only because, again, my biggest thing for right now is this whole spending package that just got rammed down our throats sideways. Because here's the thing. This was an omnibus package. Omnibus packages are what I like to call the candy store. They have basically a little bit of everything in there for everybody to make sure that it gets all the votes that it needs to be able to be passed. It also typically makes them veto-proof. The simple fact of the matter is, and I'm kind of torn about this, but I've been saying this since the day that he signed it, this was a tactical mistake for Trump, because he could have vetoed it, sent it back to the floor, made them either clean it up or override it, and he still would have gotten the military funding that he wanted one way or the other, because the Democrats weren't going to pull anything from that funding package, because they couldn't, because they wanted everything else that was in there, and they knew they wouldn't get it without the military spending. And that's what irritates me about all these talking heads, including Rush Limbaugh, that have been like, oh, well, it's only for September, and Trump, or only through September, and Trump only did this to make sure that he got the military spending, and from that point forward, he's not going to sign anything like this ever again. Yes, he will.
Oh, yeah. That that was such a lame excuse. I mean, it was one he knew would resonate with his base. I had to do it for the military. That was calculated. It was a prepared excuse and response because they knew that would resonate with his base. But there were so many other ways to go about this, and that would not be pulled. But whatever. The fact of the matter is he kind of toyed with everybody by saying he might veto it and then just went full steam ahead. And like I said last week, he doesn't care about this kind of stuff. This kind of stuff is not really on his radar. The spending thing, debt, any of that does not matter to him in any real meaningful way. He might say pretty things at his rallies or whatever to the people that he knows cares about those types of things. But in his personal respect, it really doesn't. So this is not surprising at all. And I knew he would make some excuses for it. And I knew that the diehards would spin it.
Yeah. And to me, that's what, that again, talk about things we can't really say anymore as far as the Republican Party. We can't be the party of small government anymore because we just threw all of that out the window and passed one of the biggest spending packages we've ever passed. Our national debt is now our national debt alone is up over 20 trillion now. That doesn't even really take into account this newest spending package yet. And I get it. There were some decent things in there. I mean, there were some things that kind of made me go, yeah, maybe parts of this weren't so bad, because I saw the thing in there, and I don't remember exactly who it was named after, but there was something about, there was some money that was going to the Palestinians that basically equated to a slush fund for all these people that are, like, in Israel, like, killing people. Apparently, if they died, their families were getting money from the U.S. government for the Palestinians. I still am trying to sort all of that out because it's this big conglomerated mess. But apparently one of the things that they did was find a way to cut the funding for that, and that was actually in this omnibus. So, I mean, I've been going through and finding bits and pieces, and some of it is not terrible. But part of what concerns me is I remember everybody talking about the Democrats passing this huge health care bill without anybody ever reading it, and now we've just passed an entire omnibus bill, and nobody knew what was in it.
Well, not only that, but okay, great. Like a few little things were defunded. Planned Parenthood wasn't. It actually funded all sorts of things that have not been this well funded ever before, that are unnecessary. That it also did not settle a few other issues that needed to be settled that were supposed to be in a spending bill, like what we do about DACA. I mean, they're just, the cons are just outrageous. It's just, and like you said, the reading it. I mean, Rand Paul sat there and read it, and it took him like 36 hours straight, and he still wasn't quite through it all.
Yeah, I mean, it took him he was tweeting for a good, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, and he only made it through 700 pages when he gave up the first time. So,
Right. No, and he said that he stayed up and read it like crazy and everything and still couldn't get all the way through it, and they had to go to a vote. It's that's insane.
I mean, I guess we're just to the part of the government where we don't read what we're passing anymore. We just pass it. I mean, it's like they threw this Hail Mary and said, it's either going to work or it's not. Yeah, we got it passed. And again, it's just like, what we were talking about last week, even before he passed it, when I was saying, this is going to be one of those things where Donald Trump eventually is going to say, look, guys, I got everybody working together. Yay, me. But they got everybody working together to basically turn everybody into big spendy Democrats, which I guess a lot of them were all along anyway. All right, so believe it or not, we are just about out of time. So why don't you remind folks where they can hang out with you when you're not on the air listening to me rant about spending?
Sure. I'm at J Homestead on Twitter, JR Homestead on Facebook, and check out misfitspolitics.com.
All right, and of course you can follow along with me at Radio Host Rick. Actually, here in just a second, I'll be back with you live for those of you that want to hang around. Otherwise, you can catch the podcast later. America Off the Rails kicks off here in just a minute. And, of course, I will be back with you tomorrow night, first producing the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show, and then we will have Jess's POV. And then, of course, I'll be back with you to round out the late night at 11 p.m. Eastern on America Off the Rails. I kind of really do miss the 6 o'clock thing, 7 Eastern for those of you living on the East Coast. But I really couldn't find a way to get it done consistently because they keep tearing up I-35. So had to come back home to the old time slot. I will see you guys here in just a minute. Stay tuned if you'd like. If not, check out the podcast later. Take care. God bless.